I'm going to break with tradition tonight, and I'm going to look at something I normally don't look at, and that's a car stereo. For the 35 years or so, 20 in the business and 15 since, I've refused car stereos left, right, and center. I won't even work on my own, and there's a reason for that, because they're just pain in the ass to work on. Let's check this out. I don't work on car stereo stuff, but you know, every so often you just find something in the recycle bin that you just can't walk away from. This was sitting in a recycle bin, and I have no idea how to work this thing. I have no idea if it works, whether it can be made workable. Know nothing about it. It's a DVD system. It's got an AM radio, FM radio. It's got Sirius XM. It's got a DVD player and obviously a CD player. Even has a place to plug your iPod or iPhone. I guess this is what this is for. Anyway, let's see if this thing does anything. I've got the wiring harness here, but I guess this is the power that goes into this unit to figure this thing out. I think there'll probably be standard wiring. So I'm going to hook up power to this thing, and we'll see whether it's got preamp outputs on it, which is kind of cool, and inputs. What's it got on here? It's got it's got video in, video out, so you can plug a camera into it, or a game console or something. Video out, so you can feed an external monitor. It's got looks like it's got inputs and outputs here. RCA inputs and outputs. It's got a Sirius antenna, which I don't have, but that's okay because I wouldn't be subscribing to Sirius anyway. So typically these units use the red and the yellow for their power source. One of them is the uninterrupted power. The yellow is probably the main power here. It's got a 15 amp fuse on it, so this one probably goes, I don't know if it goes straight to the battery or not. One of them will be used to control the power, like when you turn on and off the ignition. The other one's got your main power coming in that powers the entire unit. They used to have one, just a low power source going to the battery for backup, but now they typically have the main power supply going to the unswitched side and just use the switch to turn on and off the power supply internal, and then take the battery backup off of that. Don't know what this connector is, don't care, I don't have the car for it. Obviously someone changed it out, so well, we'll just cut this all off, because I don't know what this came out of. To say, it's not mine, so maybe I'll leave a little bit of length on here just in case I ever come across something that needs a connector. But then again, I probably won't. Okay, get the red wire. We'll strip the red wire here, and the yellow wire. We'll put those together. That'll be the positive lead, and the big black wire here, this is going to be the negative lead. Should have cut that a little longer. What was I thinking? I know, I was thinking I wasn't going to use this. Okay, well, anyway. Good enough. Okay, power supply. Turn it on, we'll set the voltage to 13.8 or 13.6. Somewhere in there. That's typically what systems operate at when they're running off of generator power. Oh, I guess I better turn my current up too. I have it limited down at like half an amp. Okay, current is cranked up. Let's just see whether this thing will do anything, or whether it's completely dead. So far, nothing. That's not a good sign. I don't like the warning on the side here. Warning. Blocking the fan cooling intake port will result in damage to the unit. They have a port on the back here. And it's actually blowing air. So something's happening with this thing. It's beeping. I can hear it beeping. Nothing's lighting up on it yet, but it's doing something. Let's try pressing the reset button on the front here. And no, it's not that easy. Anybody care to guess what the problem might be before I reveal it a little later on in the video? Drawing about 1 amp. If we look at the power supply here, in the background, drawing just over an amp. So doing something. I think maybe I'll take the top off it. Looks like the seal has never been broken on here, so it hasn't been opened. Just gonna remove these brackets from the side. I proceed to toss them in the garbage because I'll never use those again. Okay. I guess there's one screw in the back here that holds the top on. Gonna take power off this to open this up. We'll see what's inside this thing. Looks like we've got a DVD deck on the top here. We'll just remove the screws for that and take that out. There's a disc in it. I wonder what disc I'm going to gain here. We'll find out in a minute. Okay, there's the deck. I'm just looking down at the main board here. See if I can see anything that's obvious on here that may be faulty. Power to it again. Oh, isn't that interesting? It just opened. Try pressing the eject button and see if the disc will come out. Pat Benatar! I got a free Pat Benatar disc. Gravity's Rainbow. That's one I don't have. Bonus. Love it when I get a free CD. Let's see if we can get this thing to do anything other than eject the disc. Power. Will it turn on? The fact that this thing's doing weird things, I'm going to check all these connectors and just see whether anything is loose. See if any of these ribbon connectors are loose. So I'll shut the power off here. I'm just going to undo all the connectors and then redo them again. Because sometimes you get the stupidest things, right, that happen when things go weird. Same with devices that have a backup battery in them. Sometimes a backup battery, the voltage will start to drop on them and you get weird things happening. And the fact that this is a car radio, well, it's bouncing around in a car. It's a perfect environment for things getting jostled loose. Open that up. Just undo these here. Okay, that's the DVD deck out. See all this rubber around here, which I guess is used to seal off so the moisture and stuff gets in there, so things don't drop down. If dirt and stuff doesn't drop down here, all this rubber is all deteriorated. It's all just crumbling away. Now check the ground screws, make sure they're tight. I can also obviously ground it to there. That's the same thing as the ground wire. The bottom cover off of it. Look in the bottom. That's the motorized control to open and close this. That's what this is. So I won't be taking that off just yet. That's what actually cranks us down. So I don't. And that looks to be all that's in there is the motors and the gears. There's no circuit boards. It plugs into this board on the other side. So I don't need to take that out. But I do want to check the seating of this connector here.
I'm getting warm.
That's going obviously to a switch.
Haven't figured it out just yet, but I'm getting there.
I think I did mention this may not be fixable, but if I didn't, I'll mention it now. If I can get this thing going, great, but I'm not holding my breath that it's going to be fixable. But it'll be interesting to see what it does. I'm just reseating these connectors just in case, you know, we're missing a signal from them. Going to remove the screws from the front faceplate here and just see if we can see the circuit board in here on this side, because the way it's acting up and the display not lighting up makes me think it's something to do with the microcontroller, which is probably here in the head unit. Don't know if that'll pop apart like that or not. We'll find out. Okay, that'll come off. Okay, that comes off. That's good. Now I can get into this display. Any other screws holding this in place? I think it's just got some clips on it. There we go. I'll take the front panel off. But there's a couple of screws that hold the stupid bezel on here from the inside. Of course, when the damn thing won't open up, it's impossible to get in here to take these screws out. See, if this would open, then you could get at them to take the screws out. But because it's not opening, it's almost impossible to get in here to remove these screws. Well thought of, Clarion, how you build your machines. Jeez. Talk about not making things easy to access, to work on things. You know, you want to get into the front panel, you got to remove those screws so that the controls will swing out of the way. And then you can access the display, but there's a board that's behind here as well. Of course, there's these two pieces of ribbon connector, which flexible PC, which attaches to this board. And every time this thing opens and closes, this thing here is flexing. It's a good chance that's what the problem is that this flexible PC is damaged right where it goes to the board here. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but it's right down inside there. You can see it. You see? There's not a lot of room on it either. It's very little clearance. You got to kind of get this thing to open to access it. Of course, getting it to open means opening up the base to get at the thing. And opening up the base, well, might be a little easier now that I've got some of the face off of it. Still not easy to get into this thing. I'm going to put power to that motor, whether I can get this thing to open up so that I can work on it. That might be an idea. Aha. Okay, now that that slider is open, let's see what we can see in here now. Oh, yeah, it's disconnected. Maybe this is the problem. It's completely disconnected from the front board here. It's just sitting there. You think maybe that might be the problem with this thing? Interesting. I think it's torn. That's the problem. This is damaged. It's got pinched. That's what the problem with this unit is. So this is not going to be a repairable unit. The ribbon here is broken. You can see it. That's why this thing went in the garbage. This has been pinched somehow when this has been opening and closing. It got stuck and it ripped it. And that's why this unit is shot. And that's why these things are a piss poor design. Because any of these things that use these trays that open and close like this, you're asking for trouble. So unfortunately, this one is going to go back into the trash bin because I don't know where I would ever get one of these things for an old Clarion. I don't know whether I could even get one, but I really don't have any interest in fixing it. I have no use for a car DVD player. And hey, I gained myself a a Pat Benatar CD out of the deal, so I guess it can't be all that bad. But anyway, that's what happened to this thing. That's why it was doing what it was doing. When I powered it up, it was beep 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 beep, and the display wasn't lighting up because wasn't communicating with the main control board. That's why nothing was working. If we look down here, you can probably still see the other side of that connector. I might as well rip this thing apart right now because I can. Can I get this out of here? What else is still tied down here? There's another screw in here, I think. If I take out these screws here on this, these are loose. I bet you that's what happened, is it worked its way loose, and it worked its way loose because you can see these screws here aren't tight. They're really loose. I bet you that's what happened, is this thing worked this way. There you go, that's how that comes off right like that. So there's where it's ripped, right there, you can see it. I think probably what happened on this thing, this was normally up like this. This normally went through here like that, and it connected into this head unit here. And with this thing opening and closing the way that it does, it slides down like that and then goes back. When this bracket moves back and forth, which is done by the motor down below, which I can operate when I open and close. When that slides back and forth, it pushed out the tray, which opened this up. Now, the problem being is that I think these screws on the side here came loose. So as this thing was opening and closing, these little pins fit into a track in the side here, right, to allow this thing to open and close. I think what happened is these screws on the edge here became loose, so this unit was no longer tight, and somehow this got bound up on something and it got ripped. You can see where it's been torn, and you can see right here where it's been torn off the back. There's the other pieces of it there. You can actually, one piece is actually ripped right out of this. So that's exactly what happened. When this thing was opening and closing, it got jammed and it ripped this out. And that's probably all that is wrong with this unit. But again, I'm not going to be the one that fixes it, because I'm just going to put the screws back in that I took out of this thing when I was trying to take that face off. There, that's how that goes back together. That's how the head unit sits with its back together, right? Yeah, I can pretty much assure you, if I were to get this ribbon cable and replace it, that this unit probably would work just fine. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. This thing's going to go back where it came from. It's going to go in for recycling. It'd be nice to be able to fix it, but as I say, I don't have a need for something like this. See, this is what's bad about these type of units. The design of these type of units is that when they blow up, in order to take this thing apart, you have to be able to get the tray out to get these screws out, which had come loose, because this normally fits in here like this. These fit in this track on either side, and then this sits in like this into these two arms. In order to take it apart, you need this thing open. And if it won't open, you gotta open up the base, hook up your power supply to the motor so that you can extend the front panel in order to open it up. But it was when I extended, that's when I realized what the fault was. Anyway, I'm just gonna throw this thing together. It's going back in the bin. I don't think there's anything worth keeping off this thing. I guess the DVD drive, but it's probably not worth anything. I might hang on to the DVD drive just in case something comes along that can use an optical pickup or something. I don't know who made this drive, but I'm sure it's a standard drive that's in there somewhere. So I might hang on to that and scrap the rest of it. Anyway, that's, look at this Clarion piece of crap. MAX385VD. Actually, what I might do with this unit is I might just part this thing out, because I think that I'm sure this is probably I don't know if it's a touchscreen or not on here. It might not be a touchscreen, but I'm sure that the screen is okay. And I know that the DVD drive is probably fine. So what I might do with this thing here is I might just part this thing out on eBay and just see if anybody's looking for the screen. I'll sell it, because we know what the problem with this is. It's just this ribbon cable. So I could sell the screen, I could sell the DVD portion of it, and somebody could get themselves a deal on, if they're looking for one of these things. I have one, so maybe I'll put it up on eBay before I throw it in the bin. And because there's usable parts on here. These things are going to break for people, and try to get parts from the manufacturer these days is like pulling teeth. Right? There's gears and switches and motors and everything in here, so I'm sure there's some useful parts in this. Anyway, I think that's what I'll do, is rather than just pitch this thing, I'll just I'll put this up, I'll part this out, I'll put the head unit and the DVD drive up, at least these two assemblies. If nothing else, if I can't get anything for the main board, at least the DVD drive and the front panel assembly is probably worth something to somebody. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon.